Sup, guys? Fat Archon here, bringing another 40k tactica. Today, by special request, I'm be covering how to get the most out of your transports in 10th edition Warhammer 40k. This is actually a viewer request, so if you guys have any suggestions for videos you'd like to see going forward, by all means, leave a comment below. Obviously, I'd like to make videos that, you guys want to see, so if there's any particular, tactic or army or any of that sort of stuff that you're interested in, by all means, let me know. Also, I got a quick shout out I gotta make. So, for the first time in the history of my channel, I got a channel member, man. So, sellers, thank you so much, dude. I appreciate it so much. It's awesome to see somebody want to support the channel like that. Genuinely, and I'm not just saying it because, you're a member now or whatever. You're one of the more, positive, supportive people I've talked to. You obviously love the hobby, as much as I, probably more. So, again, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. If anybody else is interested in supporting the channel, I'll post a link to my Patreon down below. Of course, you can also become a member through YouTube as well. Regardless, though, we got a lot to go through, so I guess I'll jump right into it. So, transports. I used to very much be one of those people who, normally skipped them. I always thought, with CSM especially, I always thought, dude, I could just get a squad of Legionaries for about the same price. Why would I bring a Rhino when, Legionaries are better, right? Well, over time, I've come to discover that, nah, man, I think transports are one of the best, unit types in the entire game. You gotta think, man, so they're multi-role, so a lot of times they bring, really good shooting, or, really good, abilities or whatever, on top of their freaking transport capacity. With the transport, you got all the obvious stuff, so maybe only move 6 inches, maybe only move 5 inches, some of you only move, 4 inches. Well, boom, I'm gonna double, maybe even triple that, that's huge. You get the resiliency on top of it, so, you're fragile little dudes that you don't want getting hurt. Well, suddenly they have to go through, a T12, 16 wound frickin' profile just to get to them, so that's pretty awesome. The biggest thing, so if you're a newer player, or you're somebody who, has never ran transports for whatever reason, the biggest reason that I think you should bring them, dude, they can still do primaries, and they can still do secondaries, and they're some of the best at it. Nobody wants to shoot at an empty freaking transport. That's terrible. I hate shooting, myself, I hate shooting at empty transports, but sometimes you gotta do it. Maybe I, just dropped off my 10-man chosen break, and, they're not even gonna do anything that turn. I dropped them off, you weren't in range, whatever. I failed my charge, whatever. Well, your turn comes around, I'm doing an action, and I'm sitting on a primary with my Rhino, but I have a super meaty, killy unit sitting in front of it. You gotta decide, do I take care of the unit that's about to charge me next turn and probably wipe out this, 200-point unit, whatever it is, or do I take out the measly little empty freaking transport that's scoring him, 5, maybe even 8 victory points? I wonder. Yeah, so that's pretty huge. And then probably the biggest reason why I like transports is they're one of the last bastions of really neat, tricky advanced plays. Obviously, there's other facets where you can do advanced stuff or whatever, but transports, dude, there's so many different ways that you can do advanced, neat little tricks, show off to your friends or whatever. I'll go through a bunch of those here shortly. Speaking of, if I happen to miss a particular tactic or neat little trick or something, by all means, please let me know. Not just for me, so I can use it in the future or whatever, but for other people too. This channel's all about spreading info so people get better. So, if you got any neat little tips or tricks, by all means, please share them. That said, though, so are transports mandatory? No, I don't think they're mandatory. I still, to this day, sometimes write lists without any transports, and they do fine. The thing is, I think most lists could be improved by tossing a transport in there. I kind of went over the reasons of why they're so awesome. All the multi-role stuff, I kind of already went over that. But, dude, so I'll probably be coming to the Rhino a lot. It's basically the gold standard of transports. Dude, 75 points for a T9 12-inch move, little dude with his transport, with his transport capacity, that's huge. Still has firing ports, so you're still getting a little bit of value from the unit embarked. Maybe got Havocs in there. Well, you're still getting half their firepower going out, so that adds on top of it. Maybe Ork Truck's one of the best freaking units in the entire game. Yeah, if I was to make a list of the best units of any army, I wouldn't put them number 1 or nothing, but they'd be way freaking up there, man. There's a reason you see infinite of them in every single list ever, every single Ork list ever. By the way, this is a legit bully boy list. This is a GT winning list, in fact. So if you guys are newer to orcs or trying to practice with them, I'll post I'll post the list, I'll post the list in the description below. For CSM, I'm doing Renegade Raiders. They love their transport, so of course I'm going to run them here. That said, so back to the topic, though. So not every, list needs it ever. And for sure, certain armies, don't even have access to them, or they have, terrible transports. So, Chaos Demons, they don't have any. Granted, that's fine. They're, coming in from the warp, so I guess it makes sense. But Tyranids, I'm assuming they have a terrible transport. I know nothing about it, but I never freaking see it, so I'm assuming it sucks. All I know is that it puts out a lot of shots, but doesn't do anything whenever it does. Regardless, though, not every list needs it, but I think most lists could benefit from it. If you've never ran a transport before, go out and do it, man. Just give it a shot. Especially if you do have access to rhinos. They are so freaking cheap on eBay. Dude, you'd probably get one for 25 bucks. Why, why wouldn't you? So we'll hop into like some of the neat little like tips and tricks that I know of, but hopefully this is like piquing your interest in like in running the transports, or hopefully even more, hopefully you're gonna like learn stuff you've never tried before. So one thing I want to talk about, so these are just like random tactics and like, yeah, just stuff to know about them. A cool like way to run your transport, a big reason why they're so awesome, I should say, especially if you're running multiple like this, dude, you can forward deploy without being like freaked out that your whole unit's gonna get wiped. Even if they blow up the transport, chances are the squad that pops out is gonna survive into the next turn, even if there is multiple shooting. I mean, look at this map. Like, I'd be lucky to get 1 or 2 units like line of sight, even on just that one guy right there. So odds are he's gonna survive. Anything that comes out is gonna survive. So that's awesome though. Forward deploying, that means you can take full advantage of their move characteristic. You can move the full 12 inches. By the way, you can still disembark after moving, so that's pretty awesome if you didn't already know that. You just can't charge. You can still shoot. You just can't charge or move. Like, that's the only, like, downside to it. Another advantage of forward deploying is that you don't even have to move the transport yet. When the game starts, you can just disembark your little 3 inches, walk up your 6 inches. A lot of times I'll get you on an objective, because a lot of times, yeah, they're 9 inches away. What's really cool too, okay, so this goes in a neat little trick. You do what I call daisy chaining. I'm pretty sure most people call daisy chaining. I'm not too sure. But and it doesn't have to be first turn either. This can happen any turn. You disembark the people, they walk up 6 inches, they get on the objective. Awesome, that's a good start. And then you got like Havocs right here. They get on the transport, and then the transport freaking moves. You still get to move your 12 inches. And guess what? It still gets to shoot. So, like, goddamn, dude, that's some efficiency right there. And like I said, that's not only turn 1. You do that any freaking turn that you want to. So certain armies, so like Renegade Raiders, very much, one of their stratagems revolves around, like, disembarking from a transport. So very much, you're going to, like, plan out your turns to do that and just hop in and out constantly. Orcs love it too. Orcs will get extra movement. So yes, you go right here, turn 2, you disembark 3 inches, and then they walk off, whatever. And then another unit can get inside, and then again, you move 12 inches. You just gain, like, dude, they move 6, and then they got another 12. They got 18 inches on from a 6-inch move unit. Like, that's huge, man. Again, all these little, like, neat little advanced tricks and whatnot. I freaking love them, man. Speaking of the re-embarking, so a lot of armies have, like, either stratagems or, like, abilities for it. So I already mentioned, like, Renegade Raiders. I know some of the Orcs for sure have an ability for it. And then the Eldar, like, I'd be very surprised if any Eldar army, like, ever didn't have that freaking ability. You got to think, too, anytime you make a normal move, I'm quite positive that you can jump inside the transport. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. If you're able to do that, like, in the shooting phase, I'm pretty sure you can, so long as it says normal move. In fact, I'm pretty sure you can do it if you, like, fall back and advance as well. But somebody clarify that in case I'm wrong. Don't want to put out incorrect info. Another neat little trick, so this isn't always competitive, but in some cases it is taking advantage of the firing ports. So Genestealer Cult's is a perfect example for that. They got their new character, I forget its name, but it's the brand new one, and he basically has a las cannon brain, which is kind of cool. But what's funny about the guy, so he has he can overcharge it. And if he does, he literally doubles the output on it. He gets 2 shots instead of 1, which is a big deal. Now, yeah, it's a big deal for like a las cannon shot. Well, the issue is he only has 3 wounds. Yeah, he's a 3-wound profile, and it's a hazardous freaking weapon. So if you do it, there's a chance that you're going to kill yourself. And I believe in the Codex, I believe he's 80 points, which is like ridiculously overcosted. Hopefully GW fixes that. But to get around that, dude, just throw him in a freaking transport and take advantage of his firing port. And then that way, the Goliath can take the hazardous. He can eat all the hazardous tests. If he fails it, whatever, man. It's just a stupid transport. Like, I don't care. What's really fun, too, if you want to get all, like, memey or whatever, you can throw multiple characters in there. Not just GSC. A lot of armies have access to that. Rhinos, Sorcerer Rhinos was, like, fairly common when 10th edition first came out. You put 2 Sorcerers in there. They have pretty good shooting. They, too, were hazardous if you overcharge, I do believe. So that's pretty fun. I'm sure a bunch of armies have that. Again, Orcs. Okay, Orcs are probably a bad example because they have terrible shooting. But, dude, they have, like, firing port 12. Like, every model inside there can shoot. On their big ones, on the battle wagons, don't they have like firing ports 20? Like something ridiculous like that? So again, you're still getting value from the units embarked. Like, that's a big deal in my opinion. You're still getting value, and any abilities tied to the weapon profile, you still get to take advantage of that. So if they have devastating wounds or anything like that, cool, man, I still get it. You just don't get it if it's like a data sheet ability. That's the only like caveat. One of my favorite things about the transports, though, is that they're still useful. I should say one of the best things about the transport is that they're still useful after you disembark. So, boom, turn 1, this guy moved. I disembark, I don't know, we'll say these are chosen or something, on the objective. Well, this guy's moved on to the other primary. Cool, man, I just got 2 primaries freaking covered. One of them's a freaking, like, vehicle profile, so have fun, like, taking care of that. Alternatively, and even better, you do the primary and do a secondary. Like, how huge is that, man? That'd be worth, like, 8 to 10 points right there, just from a single 75-point unit that, again, your opponent may not necessarily want to shoot. They're also, maybe you don't even move like that. You just leave them on the primary. They're fantastic for it, man. Rhinos, if I'm not mistaken, have 3 objective control. That is like actually crazy good for the price you're paying and for like it being a single model. That's actually crazy good and often is the difference between holding or not holding an objective. It's also 2 separate targets that your opponent has to shoot. So maybe they clear out the havocs. Well, you know, you still got the Rhino to deal with. Another thing that you would do, and this would be ultra common, you screen out your infantry. So yeah, to charge me, you got to like either make a really long charge or just like, you know, you got to slam into the Rhino first. Obviously, you can move off the primary and move to like move block somebody. Maybe they have really good shooting with like an infantry unit especially. You can charge them, tie them up. Man, I hope you guys are understanding how many different uses you're getting from this. And you would think, like, can't every unit do it? Well, yes, they can, but dude, vehicle profile, they almost always have really good move, and they're cheap. And again, and people don't necessarily want to shoot them. There's so many advantages of why you should be bringing the transports along. If you haven't been running them, man, like, just do it. Just your next list. Just give them a shot. Just see how they run. You don't have to bring many either. Just a single, and I should have mentioned that in the beginning, just a single freaking transport is just as valid as, like, 2 or 3. It all depends on your army. And again, some of them do have, like, so, like, land raiders, man. Got the assault ramp. Like, that's a huge deal. Certain other ones, doesn't the Impulsor, there's some where you, no, it's the Chimera. You can advance and still get out, so that's awesome. You get an extra movement. For real, though, I would recommend, like, give it a shot, or at least, like, heavily consider it. Back to the, to the primaries and the secondaries, though. So, Pariah Nexus is here. One of the missions, I forget its name, I haven't, like, memorized everything yet, but basically you do an action from your deployment zone and no man's land, and then hopefully, potentially, from your opponent's deployment zone as well. Well, again, if you wanted, you could disembark and just have the infantry run up, or you could come up here. Oops, come here. You run up here, disembark, and then next turn you go back. And again, it's just the transport, man. You're not like losing anything by like tossing them back into your army. He can help screen, obviously. He can help screen deep strikers by doing that. So many freaking uses. Again, I hope it's getting through to you guys. Don't forget, too, that you can give transport scouts. If you didn't know that, so if every model inside of the transport has the scout keyword, then the transport, and then the transport itself gains the scout keyword. That is such a big deal, guys. So everything else I was talking about with the whole disembarking, gaining 6 inches, well, add another 6 inches on top of that. Maybe got some crazy profile. I'm not sure if they exist. Well, for infantry, I should say. Maybe got like a 9-inch freaking scout. We can do a 9-inch freaking scout, and that gets pretty wild there. I believe, don't Sisters of Battle? I know they used to have it, and it was really freaking scary. But Sisters of Battle had a super deadly one. Maybe this was 9th edition, but regardless, man, they used to be able to scout 12 inches, and then they could disembark, and then they charge you, and it was almost a guaranteed turn 1 charge. It was huge, and they would, like, gotcha all the time. That the asshole sister players wouldn't warn you, and they would totally come out 12 inches and then just charge you first turn. It was actually pretty brutal and kind of a dick move when they did it like that. But don't forget that they can get scouts. Like I mentioned, they get the abilities from any weapon profiles or firing out of the firing ports. That is such a big deal, guys. Like I mentioned, like Havocs, you would think that you're losing all of your efficiency by putting them in a transport. No, not at all. Oh, God. Okay, so the biggest reason to use transports, why didn't I mention this earlier, is use them as a Pinata. So basically what you do, you keep it with the infantry inside, and you just sit on an objective, and you do not disembark it. And what happens is when your opponent blows it up eventually, your dudes just pop out, and boom, I still hold the objective, I'm still going to score it next turn. That is one of the like most common plays in competitive play. If you ever went to like a GT or something like that, like you're going to see that. Almost assuredly going to see people do that with their transports, especially if they spam them. So like orcs are pretty fantastic at it. Granted, they like to be an assault, so they do usually like jump out. Now, you might think, like, ooh, but what if I get surrounded? So orcs would probably do that all the time. You know, they got their WoG going on. They're probably going to, like, surround you. Now, back in the day, in, like, 8th and 9th edition, like, pretty much every edition before 10th, if this happened and they killed the transport, you were you were SOL, dude. Your squad just went poof. Yeah, they just disappeared. Well, in 10th edition, GW blessed us with the emergency disembarkation. You get a freaking 6-inch freaking disembark, which is gigantic. Now, the downside to it is that for each model on the transport, you roll a die, and on a 1 to 3, you take a mortal wound. So if you had 10 models in there, on average, you take 5 mortal wounds. Well, guess what, man? 2 wound and especially 3 wound profiles don't give a damn about that. My Chosen, for example, they're like the perfect example. My Chosen don't give a damn. I'm going to lose 1 or 2 bases from it, still have all my efficiency after that. And what's super sweet, so maybe they blew up the transport and I put out all my dudes right here. They cannot attack these guys unless they have another unit that is ready to pile in. And even then, that still wouldn't happen because you'd just be smart and you keep them out of pile in distance. Unless they have another unit, they cannot attack you. You basically become invulnerable for it. And maybe if you're lucky and you like out objective control them, like, dude, that sucks for your opponent. That applies to shooting as well. Now, shooting's obviously it's a little easier because they might have multiple units stacked up in line of sight, but a lot of times they won't. A lot of times, even if they do, like, they don't have enough left over to, like, wipe out the unit, the infantry that popped out after. So that is the big one. If you remember anything from this, remember to start using the Pinata technique, especially if you have, like, Trader Guardsmen. If you're playing CSM, Trader Guardsmen would be fantastic for it. They're 2 objective-controlled, cheap little, like, bastards. So for 145 points, you have a Rhino with 20 objective control inside of it. What's cool, too, is maybe it doesn't get shot or whatever, and I've used this tactic myself before. I basically use them as, like, mobile objective stealers. 20 objective control on little, I forget the base size, but they're itty-bitty bases. They're like the cultist-sized bases. Dude, you just go here and just steal any objective. So maybe even the orcs are right here. There's just, like, maybe not that many, but maybe they got, like, 6 on there. They got, like, 12 objective control. Potentially, I could sneak 7 dudes on there and steal it. Better yet, I get all of them and the Rhino. That's 23 objective control. Let's see, what else am I missing? I think that's most of the little, like, tips and tricks. As you guys can tell, dude, I'm pretty hype on, like, transports, very much. Again, if you haven't been running it, like, give it a shot. This is mainly for new players. I'm sure most people do understand, like, yeah, transports are pretty awesome. Dude, and the models are sick. I love the models are sick. They're usually, like, utilitarian, and they definitely fit, like, the factions, like, theme, like, to a T. They're probably, I wouldn't be surprised if after the infantry, they're, like, one of the first themes designed by, like, by Games Workshop, by the design studio or whatever. Regardless, though, if you guys have any other suggestions or questions, by all means, leave them below. If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing. As always, best of luck out there, guys, and remember, death to the false emperor, or the four-armed emperor.